welcome y'all. That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast for Thursday, October 8th, 2015. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, joined as always by Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's happening, buddy?
We're back to our primitive setup where we're doing this online.
We are kicking it old school. I think this episode, maybe we'll call it Where's Rusty? Because here I am in a completely different place than usual. So we've done this from Bristol, Tennessee, me and you. We did Darlington. We've done your house in Alpharetta, Georgia. We've done my house in Atlanta. And this must be the fifth logo. Or no, I've done Jerusalem.
You were in Israel.
Yeah, and so the sixth unique place this week, I'm going to call it Washington, D.C., but in actuality, I'm about 10 or 15 or 10 miles north in Silver Spring, Maryland. Lovely Silver Spring, Maryland, doing my
where the hell is that?
Yeah, right, exactly. So, it's a little I won't call it a one-horse town. It's all right up here. They've got one of everything. You want to go to the Irish pub, you got the Irish pub. You want to go to the sushi place, there's the sushi place. So they've got one of everything at least. And I actually travel here more than anywhere else in the project and everything that I'm working on. But yeah, we're definitely kicking it old school, back to our primitive days, like you said, for our 20th episode, man. Huge milestone.
All right, 20th birthday.
Yeah,
for the podcast, that's I want to say that's significant. It doesn't. It feels significant in a couple of ways because it kind of marks this thing has momentum. It's got legs. We didn't give up after 3 of them.
Yeah, or 19 even. So
or 19.
Nice round number. Multiple of 10. It's working out for us. I'm looking forward to the next 20. This is going to be awesome.
And we've gotten quite adventurous. Which is fun. And I think it's probably pretty obvious at this point to the fans that while we certainly enjoy doing the show at all, it's so much fun to do in person. We'll likely go out of our way to try to make that happen in the future.
Yeah, man. So last week's episode, I always listen to the previous week's episode. Now I've been working, I've been doing all this mess and traveling and all that, but I always listen to last week's episode. This week I actually did not make it past the 5-minute mark in our last episode because I was laughing so hard with my wife on the producer and me yelling at her and you going crazy. It was a hell of a podcast.
It was definitely a 3-ring circus. It was really fun having somebody else in the room that's really not been a part of it. That was a unique situation, and certainly thanks to Serena for manning all the periscopes and whatnot we had going. I thought that was fun too, that we had all the social media going too, and I don't know that it necessarily drove any more viewers or listeners, but I think it'll be the beginnings of backbone or whatever this thing's going to end up being.
Yeah. So, like we said, kicking it old school. I don't have the mixer, so I can't play all of our sounds. So we're just going to have to go soundless this time. I can add in our theme song before and after, but that's about it. Oh, I guess I could add everything else, but you wouldn't get this podcast till, I don't know, Tuesday or something.
No, it's not worth it, I don't think. That stuff's all fun, but I think getting it out tonight would take precedence.
Yeah. So what you drinking on, man? You got
okay, so yeah. For those that have been bored with my drink selection,
Red Rock. I was calling it Rolling Rock.
Rolling Rock, yeah. They get another shout out this week. Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And that's a corn-based lager beer. Pretty tasty. But
I think it's terrible. But hey.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about having different taste buds.
Any publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah. So I didn't really venture too far off the ranch. I'm still within the friendly confines of the bourbon world. But I've got my favorite macro bourbon, which is Wild Turkey 101.
Ooh, very nice.
And I've got it with tonic and a lime wedge, which
very nice,
very refreshing.
That's a stark contrast to our college days drinking Wild Turkey 101. We won't. I don't think it's appropriate to get those stories on the podcast, but boy,
You know what? Everybody stayed safe though. We never really did anything dumb. We just had some really short evenings. Yeah, let's do it real quick. We don't have a long show today, I don't think, based on what we talked about. We used to play this really stupid game, and I'm glad my mom doesn't listen to this.
Stupid's right.
But we take so you know the 32-ounce stadium cup you'd get at a football game or baseball or wherever.
Oh yeah, the one that you put quote Coca-Cola in, and that was it.
Right, the one that you buy a Coke, but you ask for less ice or ask them not to fill it all the way up, and they're like, "Oh, gotcha." They give you the wink, and then you fill the rest of the way up with whatever it is you brought with you. That's probably alcohol. And so anyway, we had these cups back at the fraternity house, and we cooked up this harebrained idea called Wild Turkey Night. And I'm sure that I was cheerleading hard for this kind of just really dumb way to spend a 2.5 hour night. You can't start. I mean, if you start this thing before 10 o'clock, there's no way you're making it to midnight.
You ain't gonna finish.
No. What you do is you head on down to the kitchen in the fraternity house there, and you fill the thing up. You fill this cup up with ice, and then you start with a bottle of Luke or room temperature Wild Turkey, and you just pour into that cup until the level of the liquor matches the height of the ice.
Right.
Which is a bunch, y'all.
An ungodly amount of.
And then you fill the rest up with like ginger ale or Coke or Sprite or whatever it is. Whatever your mixer of choice is. And this was 4 of us. And basically this was a race to finish a handle of liquor. That's probably where I should stop because we were successful.
On many times.
On at least 3 occasions.
In the end, which, none of us remember quite well, but we would sign the bottle too and put it up on somebody's windowsill.
Of course, because that's what you do when you're 21 or 22.
Yeah, you're being nice saying that we were of age, so that's good.
Or 9. No, I won't go there. We were definitely 21 or 22 or maybe even 23 because you didn't, but a bunch of us spent more than the traditionally allocated 4 years in college.
So I'm
all right. So that was like our throwback Thursday from our young partying days.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Back when we didn't know what good booze and good drinks and good beer and good wine tasted like.
And before we really appreciated the the glory of going to bed, because I would make it maybe 1/2 a drink in now and just go, oh man, I sure could go to bed right now, couldn't I? And like you said, it made for some early nights though.
For sure.
So I'm drinking. I went over to the liquor store. I was like, oh man, we're doing PETM tonight. I actually have to go buy something to drink because typically I haven't been, but while I'm traveling. But I've got what they had. They had Gentleman Jack, little airplane bottles, Gentleman Jack.
Oh, nice.
And I found this new Coca-Cola. It's called Coca-Cola Life, and it's supposed to be some low-calorie Coca, not zero, but lower calorie. So I was like, all right, I'll pick that up and see what the deal is. And I got it in, and then I looked at it, and it's like 35% fewer calories than normal Coke, which when normal Coke is like 300 calories, it's like, oh, well, now you're looking at like whatever that number is, 200. I'm like,
yeah, what's the point of that?
Yeah, why did I buy this? I don't know what's going on. So regardless, I've got it. It has a green label on it. So there you have it. But
that's the one. I thought that was the one that was supposed to have real sugar in it.
It does,
instead of corn syrup.
It has real sugar and stevia. Is that what it's called?
Oh, it's a combination.
Yeah. So it tastes
stevia.
fine. It's fine as a mixer, but it's
alrighty,
whatever. So anyway, this is a NASCAR podcast, man.
Sounds tasty. Have we talked about a race car yet? I don't think we have.
Talked about one yet.
That'll happen sometimes on the intro of a internet radio show.
That's right. So I think one of the big stories actually out of this week is Bristol, man. Bristol, baby. Haven't been there. How long have we been there? 6 years now? We've been going to the fall race?
6. Okay, so my first one was in 2008.
Okay. And then we went the year
And
after.
then,
We've been doing it 6 years.
yeah.
So Bristol is installing a new uh, jumbotron. They're calling the Bristol Colossus, and it's 4 sides of a giant TV. I'll tell you this much. So my first reaction was, well, I sure hope, because we sort of sit in the end zone between, I would say, what is it, 1 and 2, and so
Start finish to our left or to our right.
To our
Somehow I can never remember
no,
that.
you can. I remember that. Yeah, it's to our left. So
Okay, so we're in the center of 1 and 2.
Yeah, center of 1.
Cole Wiki Grandstand.
Yeah, and so I'm concerned. My first thought was I was concerned that might obstruct a view, because right now we can see all the way around, and that's one of the reasons to have where we're at. It's a great way to not have to turn your head a bunch during the race. But
yeah, that's what I try to tell my friends that are like, "Oh no, you got to sit on the straightaway at the racetrack." I'm like, "No, not at Bristol. You don't."
Yeah, not at Bristol. You just see it peripheral. You see everything going on. But my second thought was, the thing that they have right now is so tiny. It feels like 1975, even though I wasn't even born then. But it feels like really old, just the way that they have it right now. So it's cool to see them do something. I'm excited to actually see it. I saw some reaction on Twitter, and it seems like a lot of people are excited for it. Maybe it'll drive some fans. Who knows?
Well, I think the big reason why they're doing it is to get ready for the football game.
Yes,
Virginia Tech versus Tennessee next year, and I think you almost have to have that for football.
Yeah,
because fans have to be able to see replays, and it has to be visible to them. And we know that from all the games we go to down at Bobby Dodd.
Yeah,
when they upgraded to the Mega Jacketron, which at its time was the largest HD screen in college football, that made a huge difference to how enjoyable the game was.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of qualifiers on it, but apparently it's pretty big. But they say it's the biggest, and this is where qualifiers just get silly. It's like a random baseball stat or something where you're going, what? Why does that stat even matter? But it's the biggest 4-sided suspended jumbotron ever, whatever that means.
Well, it's like those baseball stats that people try to find. I mean, what it is it's 4 screens that are 40 by 70, which are nice size screens. Mm-hmm. The reason why they could niche out a little corner and be the one thing that's like that is at Jerry Jones's big old playhouse over there in Fort Worth, that thing actually hangs from the roof.
Yeah.
So it's not suspended, air quotes.
Yeah, that thing's nasty. I really want to see it, but then again, the Atlanta Falcons building their new stadium, they have that wraparound all the way around.
That thing's going to be super unique. I'd be very interested to see what the view of it is while stuff is playing, because at what point do you break it up to where, how many sections are going to be playing the same thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's, and how many curved televisions are going to get sold in Atlanta after that thing goes in?
Yeah, no
whether that's a useful thing or not, we're seeing it advertised on television now.
So you brought up in the pre-show an interesting, I'll call it a fan theory about the Hendrick drivers. And so for those of you who don't know, and me and Sherwin have actually been to the Hendrick facility, there's 2 main garages there, or facilities, whatever you want to call them. One,
they're completely separate buildings.
Yeah, completely separate buildings. One houses the 5 and 24, and the other one houses the 48 and 88. So, Sherwin, your fan theory here, which I like a lot.
Yeah, so I think what we've seen most of the year, if you kind of add it all up and do some minor statistical work, is that the 48 and the 88 have significantly outperformed the 24 and the 5. Obviously, the 5 is having an anomaly type bad year, at least for the driver and what you expect out of the equipment. What I'm curious about is, now that the 24 and the 88 are the only 2 cars left in the chase, even though if they're in different garages, do you see those cars start to perform on a week-to-week basis better? Or do you see, is it a rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing, where because the 88 or the 88 and the 24 need to perform better, that actually causes the 5 and the 48 to pick up their performance. If you look at I was about to bury the lead. I'm going to stop there. But that's all I really wanted to say.
No, so were you going to talk about qualifying?
Yeah, I almost buried the lead on the breaking news.
So we don't have to talk about who's up front yet, but we do know who's toward I'll say the middle. In Casey Kane in the 5 qualified 20th. And so we're not seeing that yet, at least on the rising tide part. But
the same with the 24.
Where did he end up?
They're only 2 positions apart.
Okay, so up in 18th.
20th and 18th.
Wow, yeah. So not a great start out of that garage. And then the 48, I think, was up in the top 5 or 6. And I didn't see where the 88 was, but it wasn't up front.
The 48 was 7th, and the 88 was 12th.
Okay, well, there you have it. So not a great showing for Hendricks. So that'll be our nice little teaser into who was having a good showing.
For sure. You want me to drop that, or we
can wait till we get to Charlotte on here.
Yeah, that's a better idea.
But it's only our second week doing this segment. And I don't have the sound bite for it, which is me yelling the expletive. But
I'll go off mic and holler like a mofo.
But our holy bleep this week, I can't wait to get to it because you tease me for it. He's getting up and walking away.
I didn't tease you. This is our holy bleep.
Well done. He's got a lot more room and a lot fewer. I'll call it housemates than I do right now.
Yeah, for sure. I can be a lot louder. Okay, so what I wanted to create in this segment is some shock value and stats. A reminder for our listeners who've been following NASCAR for a long time, and then it's almost like a history lesson for the folks that haven't been following for a long time. So I think it's fun for both parties. And what I try to pick out is not the most obvious thing that you would see. Last week we talked about Jimmy Johnson only being 2 wins and 1 championship away from tying Dale Earnhardt in terms of like career stats. It's like, whoa, that's kind of a big deal. So this week,
I've been thinking about that all week, by the way, and I'm still I don't know where to go with it.
It's craziness.
Like I said, I was talking on the spot at that point, and I haven't listened to the podcast again, but I got to listen to my opinion as it happened again. But that blew my mind. So I'm looking forward to this week blowing my mind again.
Okay. So we know Jeff Gordon has accomplished a lot of things in his career. If maybe you're just a casual NASCAR fan, you may not know that Jeff Gordon has 92 career wins in the Sprint Cup Series. Mm-hmm. That number by itself seems rather astronomical. That's the 3rd most wins for any driver ever, okay, behind Richard Petty's 200 and David Pearson's 105. Mm-hmm. Okay, but if we dive into what was his career and really like kind of put the magnifying glass on the years that really defined his career, here's the craziness, okay? Between 1995 and 1999, Jeff Gordon won the Sprint Cup Championship 3 times and finished in the top 3 4 times. Okay, so that's crazy. During that stretch, that 5-year stretch, he won 47 of his 92 career races.
Wow, goosebumps.
Over half, okay? So I just got goosebumps myself. I still haven't gotten to the holy bleep number of the week. And this is the holy bleep that just keeps on giving. We got 92 wins. 50% of them came in a 5-year stretch. In that 5-year stretch, Jeff Gordon had 104 top 5s.
In that 5-year stretch, Jeff Gordon had 104 top 5s.
He averaged nearly 21 top 5s for a 5-year stretch.
Unbelievable.
That is, I just got like the double goosebumps. You know how you get the goosebumps and then you get the double goosebumps? Like the goosebumps get goosebumps?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got chicken skin, Marty Smith.
Yeah, that happened to me too just now. And it's taken me a little while to process that. 21. I mean, we have how many races did we always have? 36 back in the mid 90s, or did they?
No.
Yeah.
When he started, it was 31, and one year it was 33, and then it went to 34 for the latter half of the 90s. And I'm not sure we went to 36. It might have been around in 04.
What would have to happen, or what would happen? I mean, the entire sport would go completely insane right now if somebody's doing that. Imagine somebody having 20 top fives this year with the amount of talent that's out there, with the amount of people and all that. I mean, people would be calling them cheaters for one.
Well, they were cheating, but they were cheating inside the rule book, which we call, working in the gray area, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people love NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
Is the working in the gray area. I mean, people can get upset as they want about Bill Belichick and what he's been doing in New England, but NFL's numbers on popularity grow every year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander in that respect. But I think, to your point, if somebody was doing that in today's sport, I think you would see numbers go down in terms of fandom and viewership. If Kyle Busch was doing that, nobody'd be watching except Kyle Busch fans.
Yeah,
that would be bad for the sport.
There's a very select few. Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course, comes to mind. I think Jeff Gordon, if he were to do it now, obviously he's not going to be able to do it ever again, but if he were to do it now, that would have driven it. But who else? I mean, there's nobody. Tony Stewart, maybe.
Tony would drive numbers for sure.
Yeah, especially if he did it like next year or something. That would be killer.
Yeah. But I don't think anybody else could. I don't think anybody else has the either the actual dedicated following or the sympathy vote that's left after that. I think people would look at Jimmy Johnson as being, oh, this is the same old stuff we've been seeing. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like him. Junior is really the only one. We got an up and comer. I certainly don't want to hang this on his head as what he needs to do in order to be a successful Sprint Cup driver. But Chase Elliott could probably drive the fandom of the series if he did something like that.
Yeah, and that would just turn it up on its head too, because here comes a new guy who's just dominating. That would be insane for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what'd you say? 104 top fives in
5 years.
5-year period. Wow. Yeah.
20.8 per year. Top fives. And we're talking now, guys that are winning championships, they're not even getting 20 top tens.
No.
I mean, I think that speaks to two things. It speaks to how good that 2014 team really was, how good of a driver Jeff is, that he could win on any racetrack, and the fact that there wasn't but a handful of cars that could win races back then.
So who was beating him in the years that he didn't win the championship then?
Terry Labonte got one, his teammate, in the 5 car.
Okay.
Dale Earnhardt got one in 94 before the run started. Dale Jarrett got 99. And that's it.
Okay.
The only 2 he didn't win in the 5-year stretch were won by his teammate and by Dale Jarrett, who is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. And so what did they have to average those years? You know what I mean?
Oh, who knows? I mean, I can go get it if you want, but
that's why we're doing
I think what I looked at, and I've got his stats pulled up here. If we look at 99, what you see is there was 34 races. Jeff won 7. He had 18 top 5s and 21 top 10s. So when he wasn't finishing the top 5, he wasn't having good races.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't. This particular chart I'm looking at doesn't have DNFs, but I would expect it was significant.
Yeah, that's a hell of a stat, man. So let's abandon that. You know what's going to happen is later on I'm going to be sitting in bed and right here in the hotel room that I'm sitting in right now. And I'm going to be lying wide awake thinking of that stat and thinking of all the things I should have said because we didn't talk about this in the pre-show, y'all. Sherwin just he said, I've got a good holy bleep moment, and so or a holy bleep stat. And sure enough, so I'm just going to sit here dumbfounded for the rest of the thing. You might have to take over, man.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at 98, which is his third of three during the stretch championships, 26 top fives in 33
Good
races.
grief. Good grief.
Yeah, I mean, that's strong. 13 wins, too, by the way.
13 win. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, half the times he finished in the top five, he won the race. And 26 of 33. Do some quick math on that. What is that, like 75% of the races?
Yeah.
Did he finish in the top five?
And I would call that, and that's the modern era, that's not the car of tomorrow and all that era. But this isn't, we're not talking about the 1960s, 1970s.
That's actually closer to 80%. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah, I told you I had a good holy bleep.
You did. You blew my mind, and the more I think about it, the more I'm dumbfounded, and we're never going to get past this topic unless we just do it. So that takes us to our come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to put I tried to do Chris Carter, which obviously I don't have the delivery that he does. The come on, man. Kind of dramatic. Today's is going to be Keyshawn Johnson.
Okay.
Come on, man. Come on.
Come on, man. I like it. Today's come on, man. So I had we had talked about this last week. We talked about this with Brad Keselowski and the whole restart situation, or 2 weeks ago with the restart situation, and him getting tagged for that. And so what did they do? They expanded the restart zone,
doubled it in length.
Restart zone, yeah, at Dover at a mile track. Sherwin's looking at me like, "Come on, man." It's the best way to put it. So now Charlotte, they're painting the restart lines on the track. They're putting the restart lines, the restart box, whatever you want to call it. They're painting it on the track so the drivers can see it. Now, that gets me to come on, man. We have a line, Sherwin. You brought this up. We have a line. It's right underneath the flag man, and it's called the start finish line. Once again, that's the start finish line.
Hey, real quick, when's the last time we started a race from the start line?
Boy, you're gonna have to go older than me times 2, probably.
Yeah, I haven't seen one.
Yeah. So come on, man. What are we doing? What is the deal with all this start finish line, or with all the start box, the painting the lines, the dealing with the casual, not just a casual NASCAR fan, because the casual NASCAR fan is probably going, what is going on? But even the seasoned NASCAR fan veterans like us, we're going, come on, man. We've got a line for this. Just what I told you, I texted you earlier this week, and I said, man, why are we not just starting at the start-finish line and say, okay, you can't pass the leader till the start-finish line, and then after that, game on. Doesn't matter.
Why not? Yeah, why not this just start finish? I mean, I get that we're supposed to give an advantage to the guy that's in the first position. Yeah. But how often now is that related to what happens on pit road? I mean, fix the aero problem, and all this restart stuff, horse hockey, will go away.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Then what's going to happen is the driver that's in the first position will select whether he wants to start high or low, and it won't matter if they go at the same time. And the car in the position that's least desirable, high or low, depending on the track, won't have a chance to pass the leader. Okay, this is all based on aero. NASCAR painted themselves in a teeny tiny little box with this aero crap they created. And because of that, they're having to change weird rules, like how big the restart box is, who gets to go when. Like that. I mean, it's really kindergarten is what it looks like.
Yeah, it does.
It's frustrating because of that.
Yeah, and again, for the casual fan, they're looking at these painted lines on this ain't football, y'all. We ain't painting every 5 yards for something else and something else. How many different rules are we going to have to come up with?
Right, there aren't any first downs in NASCAR.
Yeah, me and you are kicking it old school today on the podcast with the remote style that we're doing. So let's kick it old school and just say, come on, man, just let the guys start. Let them get to the start finish line. Let's start the race. Let's not have all these rules that govern everything that happens before we even start the race.
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on.
And the other thing, the tangent I wanted to weave for a minute is, how far does this go? If we can't get it fixed with extending the box and painting lines on the track, are we going to have timing lines put in right there? Are we going to have like some kind of crazy technology where like the computers in the cars won't go before then, so that there's like it's impossible? Yeah, I mean, like, are we going to have replays? Our crew chief's going to be hawking red flags out on the pit road. I mean, where are we going to take this thing? When's it stop?
Yeah, you're right. It needs to go back, not forward with the current progression. It needs to go back and just say, what's the least we can do right now?
And they made one major rule change back in 07 or 08 to put the lap cars back in the back, which, as a casual race fan in the early 2000s and then going to a race and then becoming this rabid fan that I am now, I was kind of like, why the heck do they do that? Why do you want to put bad cars next to good cars and give the bad cars the advantage on the track? Because at that time,
oh, we might have lost Sherwin there. So he had a good point.
You had to keep up with a good car.
Oh, he's back and forth. Are you back with us?
Uh-oh. How much of that did we miss? It was only, 3 or 4 seconds?
Maybe more like 15 or 20, but that's okay. I'm exaggerating.
Okay. Well, anyway, the whole...
Oh, man. Talk about internet problems, y'all.
The gist of the comment or the motion... Oh, man, I'm not having any issues over here.
It's all good. Go ahead.
So NASCAR made a great change when they went to double file restarts with the lap cars in the back. But because they've painted themselves in the box with this newer car, I've lost you completely, but I still have the red light recording.
Oh, so you're good. Keep talking.
Keep talking just in case. Oh, you're back. Yeah. So we're having a little bit of a crunch on internet, y'all. Anyway, double file restarts was a good idea. But when they went to the car tomorrow and this front air dam and air doesn't go underneath the car, it changed the advantage of the lead car to where if they can't beat them to the line, we have all this moaning and whining about the restart zone. And it's not good. And it's not related to it's not related to drivers playing tricks. It's related to the aero sensitivity of the cars.
Yeah. I went off video there because I think my internet here is struggling here at the hotel room now that it's 9:50 and everybody's starting to play Netflix around me probably. So I'll go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For the time. So I'll say good news out of Talladega. Oh, by the way, we'll close that one out. Come on, man.
Fun news for sure.
Yeah.
Restarts. Come on, man.
So again, apologize to everybody for the audio issues, but some big news, some good news out of Talladega. They're putting safer barriers on every single wall that's exposed that a car could possibly get on. So we've talked about safety. We've had even a serious podcast here after we lost a guy in Indy, Justin Wilson, and so it's good to see them taking this seriously finally, and maybe more tracks will take note of that, and this whole exposed areas of walls will be completely gone maybe in the next year, 2 years. Oh, and
well, I mean, this announcement probably comes on the heels. This announcement probably comes on the heels of Austin Theriault having a compression fracture like Denny Hamlin got at the truck race in Vegas, which was crazy. I don't know if you watched the replay of that wreck, but it appeared as though the other Penske truck was having an issue and trying to get at pit road and actually clipped Austin. And then he went from the bottom of turn 4 just straight into the wall, like a head on. Like the only thing that would slowed him down was the fact that he was going uphill a little bit. And he was pretty banged up afterwards. I think his season is over.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. So good to see that they're taking it seriously, or more seriously. Whatever. So yeah, we like that. Let's move on to Dover, man. Let's have some fun. So Kevin Harvick.
Okay.
Kevin Harvick, who I picked, won. So I gave you some props for who was it that you picked? You picked Carl Edwards a few weeks ago, and he won. So you beat me.
Carl, the dark horse pick.
Yeah, the dark horse pick. So you picked him a couple weeks ago. You got that. I picked Harvick this week, so I'm pretty proud of that one, and got that one out there.
Yeah, congrats, man.
Thanks. Feels good.
You were, yeah, it's fun. I mean, so I'm pretty sure I picked Brad Kez, and he didn't really have a traditional Dover performance for him, particularly come chase time. And that's a really good segue to something I wanted to talk about related to the 48 team. But if you've got something else you wanted to get in there about
I've
Dover,
got that right
we
next
can certainly hit that.
No, yeah, I'm done patting myself
Okay.
on the back. I'm not good enough to keep doing that for too long.
Oh, well, pat it some more. Hit it a couple more times. I'm going to try to get this in, and then I got to make another drink. I'm out. I'm thirsty. So what I've got written in my notes, y'all, is the 48 had a very uncharacteristic chase and single race performance within the chase. I think everybody that follows the sport pretty closely knows that not only is Jimmy really good at Dover, he actually holds the record for the most wins of anybody ever at Dover.
Yeah.
And Dover's not a new track, y'all. Dover's been around since 68 or 72 or something like that. Quite a few years. Much older than Rusty and I, for sure. And so that's a significant record when you consider how many times Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt and Cale Yarborough and David Pearson probably raced there. And so on the race that they had, I don't know if they had to win, but they needed to do really, really well. I don't think they were in quite as bad a shape as Harvick was, but they were close to that. And then they have this rear end gear oil seal fail, and they're squirting oil out everywhere. I think if you saw them take the car to the garage, the whole right side of the car is just dripping oil. It must be a very, very thin oil, maybe like something you'd put in a chainsaw or something. I don't know. But, yeah. And then Jimmy and Chad both joked independently, completely separate from each other, that it was like a $15 part that ended our race. Like, I don't know if that's funny. Maybe you have. Sometimes I laugh when things go really bad, and because that's a better way to deal with it than crying. but it really didn't have a good feel to it. Rusty and I may have finally gotten completely separated on this thing.
No,
although I'm still seeing the red light recording.
Yeah, we're still running. So I think we got all that too. I think.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's on Netflix now, it seems. So
I think we're on a pretty severe delay. Yeah, like I don't hardly hear anything you say. When I do, it's all chopped up.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. So.
And it's like 3 seconds after when I would wanted you to respond to me.
Yep, exactly. So we'll talk about. I'll talk about that for a second. I think you're right. I think it's resigning at that point. The fact that you really had to do something to win to get to the next round, and they knew it, and they knew if anything happened, that was going to be out. So they had just resigned themselves to well, it's not going to happen. Sorry, guys. And so all you can do at that point is joke about it, I guess. So it's a bummer for that. I'll move us on to what I think is a cool story. I'll call it a cool story for several reasons. One, we celebrate the old school cheating ways. The way that people we call it cheat or bend the rules or play within that gray area. And we had a story coming out this week that Kevin Harvick wins a race, and his crew chief over the radio, the crew chief says, and Sherwin's going to make him a drink while I'm talking about this. Crew chief says, "Tear it down." So you hear his crew chief say, "Tear it down," and then Kevin Harvick proceeds to do a burnout that completely tears it. We can hear loud and clear Sherwin getting some ice there. But you can hear get you some ice, buddy. So he proceeds to light up those tires. He burns it down until he's essentially on rims. He hits the wall pretty he says he kissed the wall. Other people are saying he hit the wall pretty hard there. The whole point being that perhaps there's a conspiracy theory going around that perhaps he might have been a little bit out of spec. And so his crew chief saying, "Tear it down," meant I need you to go ahead and tear this car up a bit. So there is like I said, a conspiracy theory going around that Harvick has intentionally just torn up his car at the end of it, just so that NASCAR can't do anything. Now, Steve O'Donnell, who's the vice president of competition and among other things that he does, and he's come on the record.
Yeah, they were calling outside the lines a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and Steve O'Donnell came out and said, "You know what? We're not worried about that at all. We don't care about any of that stuff. The stuff that we're measuring is not going to. That's not going to affect it." Now, whether he's trying to save face or whatever, so there's been a few folks that come out and talk. Kyle Busch, I thought was pretty funny. He says, "Oh no," it's something like, "Oh no, I would never do nothing like that," and then he winks very dramatically at the camera. And then Brad Keselowski comes out and pretty much says, "Oh yeah, when you win, sometimes you gotta tear it down. It happens." So I think it's pretty cool. This harkens back to an old school that we don't see too often or often enough, where people are playing in that gray area. Stuff like who was it that had the we've talked about it before, I think, but they put a size limit on the gas tanks. So dude made a 75-foot long gas line, so that he had an extra half gallon in that gas line, essentially. So just stuff like that I think is the creative ways of skirting the rules. And I'm actually okay with this one. I like it. I like that people are coloring outside the lines a little bit. So I'll give Harvick and the crew chief a little bit of props. They might think they're coloring outside the lines, so they said, "All right, we'll just tear up the race car. What's going to happen?"
Well, so the thing is, you still have to pass inspection on race day. Yeah. So you have to fit the template and you have to meet all the measurements. And so the things that you're looking to do, if you have something cheated up on the car and you think maybe wearing the rubber off the rear end and maybe bumping a wall or two is going to fix it for you, what you're looking to do.
Oh man, what you're looking to do. And that's when we lose Sherwin. Go figure. So folks, we're having some serious issues here today with our internet, obviously related to me being in a hotel and working on crappy hotel Wi-Fi. So we'll let's see if we can get him back, and if we can, we'll talk to him. If we can't, we'll end it soon. So y'all hang in there with us. All right, folks. Well, we're back. We're running on super primitive now. We're not even doing video to each other. We're just doing straight audio. Sherwin, sorry about all that.
No worries, man.
So, getting your opinion on the Harvick. I'm not going to call it the cheat. The painting outside the lines.
Oh yeah, I guess we lost a lot there. What I was going to say is, I don't really take a lot of issue with it because the car has to go through inspection to practice. It has to go through inspection to qualify and has to go through inspection to race. And you know what? If you found some science or some technology that allows you over the course of a race to change the way your car behaves just because of the stresses of racing it, I kind of think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, we recall a couple of years ago when Brad was whining about how Jimmy's car would sit down in the corner and the ass end would squat over to the right. It's like, they got something going on that we ain't doing.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. And on top of that, tearing it up at the end, destroying all the evidence. It's just cool, funny, everything else. I like it.
I like it from a lot of perspectives, and obviously I think it's because, I mean, hell, just 2 weeks ago on this podcast, I was bitching about Kevin Harvick pissing me off because of his behavior, but at the same time, he's one of those sword edge guys for me. Some days I like him, some days I don't. This doesn't bother me coming from him because he hit a walk-off. They said you've got to win, and he wins. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's probably about 97.8% of the reason why Steve O'Donnell's going to shrug it off, because the whole win when you have to aspect makes people pay attention.
Yeah, for sure. So let's bring it to Charlotte, man. We've got so it's Thursday right now, and they already did the qualifying. They did Thursday qualifying, and Kenseth on the pole. Kenseth.
Yeah, well, we got a Saturday night race, and you're almost always now qualified 2 days ahead of the race. Kansas, as Darrell Waltrip would pronounce the word Kenseth, is on the pole. But that's not the biggest story, I don't think, because I don't think it's any shocker that Matt Kenseth in a Joe Gibbs car can win a pole at 1.5 miles. I think we may have seen this once or twice before. I think it's maybe what the rest of that team did that is the story.
All right. And so what's that story?
The story is Gibbs qualified 1, 2, 5, and 8. All 4 cars in the top 8. 3 of them in the top 5 qualifying it. And the other cool thing for me, just how much this new qualifying system has kind of upset me, is that the third round number 1 qualifying speed was actually the fastest lap run of the qualifying session. And that's because they qualified at night, which is rather rare in Sprint Cup.
So what does that mean? Why does that make you mad or upset you?
Well, because we had so many times where we've set the track record in the last couple of years, but we didn't do it with the guy that won the pole.
Mm-hmm.
So we set a track record, but it was like in the first round, and then the guy like qualified 13th. Like, that seems silly to me. I mean, maybe I'm just getting too trivial with it, but used to be when Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip and Mike Joy would holler together, "New track record." You know, that guy is going to win the pole.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. That is one thing that this maybe typically more exciting style of the pole is lacking for us. So that's a good point.
Well, I mean, and I think I throw a caveat in this, since this is a NASCAR fan podcast and we're basically offering an opinion over fact most of the time. The most fun qualifying has been in my NASCAR career was 2 or 3 years ago when they decided that they would set the qualifying order based on practice speed.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys would go out slowest to fastest. And so if it was one of those occasions where the new technology package or the new qualifying time or whatever it was leaned itself to setting a record, they got to say new track record like 6 or 7 times in the same qualifying session. That to me was more exciting than what we have right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and thinking back to when me and you would go to the qualifying sessions and watch them go one by one back in Atlanta, how many have we gone to? Yeah, we've gone to one of the qualifying sessions. I think I can't even remember where it was now, but we've been to one or two, and you have to keep up with a lot more. There's a lot more going on. I'm starting to, now that we have a lot of data points, I'm starting to look back and go, you know what? I didn't hate that old qualifying system all that much then.
Well, particularly not at the short tracks, which is all but what they've done is go back to single car qualifying, and that's worked. It's been fun once they get to the final round. I think the problem, it never has been that the qualifying system was bad. It's that it wasn't great for television, particularly at tracks where your qualifying time is over 35 seconds. So your Michigans and your Californias and your Poconos and your road courses, and so they weren't getting the overnight ratings, as you would say, in the TV ratings industry, and so they thought they had to change it. They thought they found something with a kind of an open wheel series style qualifying program, but it didn't hit with me, and that's okay, because not everything can. I mean, there's the bell curve of reactions you're going to have, and you just want to make sure that, if you're a sporting governing body, that your mean and your median are falling on the same spot.
So let's get to our picks. I guess I have to go first this week, which I'm pretty proud of still. So I'll pat my back even a little more.
Yeah, well, when you win, you absolutely have to pick first.
I'm gonna buck the trend here. So we know Gibbs is good. We know some folks are out now, but I think now in his, well, we'll call it Jimmy Johnson's home track, and I'm burying the lead. I'm picking Jimmy Johnson, but at his home track,
jerk.
That steal yours.
Damn right you did.
Oh, that's funny. And we're probably on the same page here. With Jimmy Johnson being in his home track and now nothing to lose, and with Chad Knaus nothing to lose, and right in the back door of Hendrick, I think it's a prime time for Jimmy just to sail into a victory here. So
boot stomp.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm going with Jimmy.
All right, cool. That's a good pick. Obviously, my opinion anyway. I'm going to go, in that case, I'm going to be very opportunistic, and I'm going to pick his garage mate, since he's the one competing for the title. And Charlotte really hasn't been a place where Junior's been strong. So I'm going to go with the 88 car.
Okay. Neither one of us picking Gibbs with all this Gibbs stuff going on. Still not, I'm
Gibbs.
I'm feeling it, but I'm not feeling it. I just feel like there's these other guys who just have nothing to lose, and so they might as well just go all out. Where Kenseth can be very happy with a top 5, Kyle Busch can be very happy with a top 5, Logano very happy with a top 5. Obviously not in that same boat, but point is, Jimmy is it's winners, it's checkers or wreckers. He doesn't care.
Checkers or wreckers. It's, if you're not first, you're last. In that same vein, I will go into the weekend with some optimism for our favorite driver. There's a lot of guys that are probably fast at a track like this, if you win, the upside is way higher than if you finish 43rd. So they're going to be in it to win it.
Yeah. So let's close this thing out, man. As much as I want to keep celebrating my my pick, but let's close it out with some local sports going on. Atlanta Falcons are incredibly and head-scratchingly 4-0 with our brand new head coach. You never expect that to happen. Brand new head coach Dan Quinn. You called it quinning earlier. Quinning earlier. And we're up against the Washington Redskins right out of where I'm sitting right now. And as a matter of fact, so I didn't tell you this before, and I wish I still had the video on, the bartender where I went earlier tonight to get some food and a couple of pregame drinks here. He gave me a koozie for the Redskins. And he knows, here's the funny part, he knows I'm from Atlanta. So I forgot we were playing the Redskins, and I thought, oh, okay, well, and it's kind of an old school And I was like, you know what? I'm not a Redskins fan, but whatever. Now that I look back and I'm like, oh, we're playing the Redskins. He totally knew. He was messing with me. So, oops.
Yeah, you should have refused that thing.
I should have, but now I've got it, and so I'll put it upside down or something while I'm drinking beer during the game this weekend.
Well, so one of the things we got to prepare for with the Redskins is they have a really, really good defense, and
as has been tradition for 20 years for them.
Yeah, and so what I've been hearing from the people on the radio that certainly studied a lot harder than I do because they get paid a significant amount of money to do that is that the Falcons are at some point they're going to have the game where they turn the ball over 3 times and Matty Ice gets sacked 4 times, and this is the kind of defense that is capable of that. But what bodes well for the Falcons is how well they performed against the Texans on the offensive line and really did not allow J.J. Watt or Jadeveon Clowney to have a breakout game. So I think you ought to go into the weekend with optimism if you're a Falcons fan that maybe you come out of this thing 5-0.
That would be something special. And, that was the first thing Dan Quinn said when he came on was that he had to fix the O-line to protect Matty. So, so far doing it, it feels like I don't know at what point it's no longer a fluke and it's actually something working. And I think it's after the Redskins game. So we'll see what happens. So, good luck to everybody. Good luck to Washington, whatever. But I'm looking forward to that game and looking forward to an opportunity at 5-0.
Yeah, well, I'm pulling for Junior to win the race this weekend. I don't mind him being happy if his Redskins are to win, but I'll certainly be rooting against them.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's get this thing moving, and we'll touch base again next time, and maybe we'll be able to be in the same room again or something and not have all this mess going on.
Yeah, well, next week after you and Serena celebrate your anniversary this weekend.
It's true, a little wedding anniversary.
So, salute to you. A little shaking of the rocks.
Yeah.
I was wearing a tux in that wedding.
He was. And so here's something funny. Our tradition, we go to a different roller coaster park every year. So this year we're going to Carowinds in, as we're talking about it, Charlotte, North Carolina. So we'll be in Charlotte on Saturday.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it?
You should have convinced her to go to the race with you.
I know. Maybe. Still
you'll be able to get a ticket. So if you can convince her by say 6 p.m.
Yeah,
you can make it happen.
Yeah, I know. So I'm playing the long game on that one. We'll see what happens. Maybe she won't listen to us before then. But in the meantime, so let's close it out, man. You can find us on Twitter at PETM Podcast, and once again, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
Yeah, and I'm Andrew Sherwin. I'm pregame engineer, pregame ENG, spelled correctly on the tweeter. We do the Periscope, and I haven't fully committed to Instagram, but it does exist, and that's all under my personal account with pregame ENG.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. Have a safe trip home. Enjoy your roller coaster trip to Carowinds.
Good times.
Thumbs up.